Okay, so say you're into the Enneagram, right? And you're a huge One Piece fan. Ever notice how sometimes the best examples for this stuff, they come from the wildest places?
It's true, you can find insights in some pretty unexpected corners.
Exactly. And, well, that's what we're diving into today. You ready for this? Monkey D. Luffy.
Oh, going straight to the Grand Line, huh?
Luffy, our favorite Straw Hat pirate captain. But, get this, through the lens of the Enneagram. Specifically, we're looking at some material that calls him a self-preservation type 7.
Interesting. I can see where that might throw some people off.
Right, like at first glance.
He's all about adventure, the open sea, chasing dreams, classic Seven, the enthusiast, all the way.
But self-preservation, that doesn't exactly scream, I'm going to fed a giant sea monster.
That's the fun part. It's about the layers underneath. See, when you hear self-preservation, you don't usually picture someone willingly jumping into danger. So how does this actually work with Luffy?
Yeah, where's the deeper cut there?
Well, okay, let's start with something we all get. Luffy and food. It's not just that he eats like a bottomless pit, though. Come on, that's
Oh,
hilarious.
absolutely. Every single time.
But the source makes this point. For the self-preservation subtype, that constant need for instant gratification, especially for comfort, pleasure, it often comes from somewhere else. It's how they handle a world that feels uncertain.
So it's less about the food itself and more about...
Control, exactly. Creating these little moments of safe and sound when everything's unpredictable.
Man, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but right now,
Mwah.
this mountain of meat is mine.
Yep. Spot on. It's not just a funny quirk. It actually gives us a peek into how Luffy handles being a pirate, always facing the unexpected.
Which makes you wonder, if his love for food is doing that, what about his hatred for responsibility? I mean, the source straight up says, the dude would rather walk the plank than do chores.
See, but here's the thing. He's also ridiculously loyal to his crew, almost like to a fault. And that's where the self-preservation's 7 puzzle piece locks in.
You're saying, even though he dodges chores like they're cannon fire,
He finds his security, his anchor in those bonds. That's what matters.
he's not your typical by-the-book captain, that's for sure.
Not even close. But mess with his crew, you're sailing into a storm, they're his family, his stability. And this ties into a biggie for self-preservation 7s that the source talks about. Inclusivity.
Whoa, inclusivity. How does that fit in?
So the source brings in this Enneagram expert, Claudio Naranjo. He says this subtype. They're driven by building these tight, protective relationships. It's all about belonging, having each other's backs. And isn't that Luffy in a nutshell?
He does have a knack for gathering the most ragtag crew, each one weirder than the last.
But he welcomes them all, creates this big, chaotic, but loving family.
And he'd go to the ends of the Grand Line for any one of them, which, knowing Luffy, could just be him expressing that self-preservation thing in a different way.
Now that's a fascinating thought. And speaking of fascinating, there's another term the source uses for self-preservation 7s. This one's a bit much at first glance. Oral aggressive.
I gotta admit, when I saw that, I was like, hold on, that doesn't sound like our Luffy.
It can be a jarring term. But hold on, in Naranja's work, oral aggressive doesn't equal being mean or cruel. It's more about that constant drive for satisfaction, that fearlessness to go after what you want. And come on, we see that in Luffy every single episode.
True. The guy's always 10 steps ahead, charging headfirst into trouble, challenging anyone who gets in his way, all with that giant, goofy grin.
And that brings up a crucial point from the source. For Luffy, this isn't about power or hurting others. It's about protecting his freedom, his dreams, and his people.
So that oral aggression, if we even call it that, it's just pure Luffy.
It's him being him, fighting for what he believes in. And what's interesting is that Naranja says this drive for satisfaction, it isn't just about stuff. It's about living life to the absolute fullest, taking it all in.
And that ties into this whole thing with Luffy and the One Piece, right? It's not just about finding treasure. It's deeper. He wants the ultimate experience. Total freedom.
And that's where it gets fascinating with the self-preservation 7 and freedom. The source points out this cool paradox for Luffy, the One Piece. It's both tons of riches, A&D, being completely free. Like he's grabbing the only way to truly enjoy life, but on his terms, his crew right there with him forever.
So even chasing the One Piece, the riskiest adventure there is, it's actually because he wants security to make a world where those needs are met. That's kind of wild when you really think about it.
Totally. It makes you rethink what drives a guy like Luffy. He's not just running on impulse. There's this hidden thoughtfulness to it. He's strategic about wanting freedom and security. And this loops back to gluttony, which we talked about before.
Right. With Enneagram, gluttony isn't just shoving your face with food. It's wanting to experience everything. Life's buffet, all you can eat.
And Luffy. The One Piece isn't the finish line, it's the key to endless possibilities. It's like he's not just feeding his own desires, he's making sure his crew can always choose their own adventure. No limits. Does that add a new layer to him or what?
Totally. We always see Luffy doing things on the fly, pure instinct, but really, it's long game thinking, right?
Yeah.
Building towards this future where he gets to have it.
Yeah.
Self-preservation, freedom, the works.
And that's something everyone listening can connect to. Whether you're deep into the Enneagram or just love a good story. Sometimes the best path isn't picking one or the other, freedom or security. It's figuring out how to have both. Maybe, just maybe, there's a little Luffy in us all, trying to make that perfect world where we can devour life's adventures but still have what makes us feel safe, connected.
It's wild, right? We started off talking about a pirate captain from an anime, and now it's like some big reflection on life and how to be happy.
That's the cool thing about these systems, the Enneagram, any of them, they make you look at things in a whole new light, yourself, other people, even fictional pirates, you name it.
And if we got all this from Luffy, just imagine what else is out there. People could dive into their own Enneagram type and
Oh, totally. Uncover all sorts of stuff. And that's the point, isn't it? It's not about slapping a label on and calling it a day.
it's got to be more than that.
It's about you, figuring yourself out. What makes you tick, what scares you, what gets you out of bed in the morning. Because once you know that stuff, really know it, that's when you can actually choose how you want to live. Make your life match who you are deep down.
So what you're saying is Luffy looking for the One Piece, that's like all of us trying to figure ourselves out.
Kinda, yeah. We're all looking for that thing. You know, the one that means we made it. Could be a dream you've chased forever, finding your people, or even just building a life where you can breathe easy and be yourself. And maybe, just like Luffy, it's not just about the end goal, but how we get there. The whole crazy journey.
That's deep, man. I gotta say, this deep dive has been one for the books.
Right.
Never thought I'd get life lessons from a guy who eats like a bottomless pit.
And that's the best part, right? Sometimes the most unexpected places, the silliest characters, they teach us the most profound stuff.
Yeah, turns out wisdom can be found anywhere, even in the heart of a fun-loving, meat-obsessed pirate captain. So to everyone listening, keep asking those questions, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep discovering. Who knows what incredible things you might find, even in the most surprising places.